hand. So it's not the most secure way to hold this camera. Now, interestingly, Roger had quite a bit of familiarity with his camera. He had used another one like it for some of his documentary work. Not the exact same camera, but one of the same make and model, but there's a few little differences in his film stuff that I was able to study. But he was familiar enough with photographic equipment that he understands the value when you're hand holding of using a pistol grip. Now, nowadays they have very elaborate rigs that have people wear for cameras, but in the good old days, a pistol grip of some kind like this was what people used when they wanted to hold the camera more securely. Now, some pistol grips come with an actual trigger mechanism where your finger here can actually operate the shutter. But that only works if the camera is modified for that purpose. The K100 is not. So if you put a pistol grip on it, all it really is a grip of some kind. The nice thing about it, however, is your hand can lock around this pistol grip to the point that you can hold it any way you want. It's much more relaxing holding it this way than holding it up. You can hold it like this all day long, and you're not going to drop it as long as you've got just a firm closing of your fist around that grip. Absolutely solid, absolutely secure. This also is actually quite important, as I will get to in just a minute. Anyways, this gives you a little bit of familiarity first with the camera itself. Now let's go to the actual event. And we'll switch slide here. Go to media things. Now, this is a visualization that I worked on of what actually happened that day. This is where Roger starts, literally frame one when he turns on the camera. Here we have Patty. That's literally where she's seen in the first frame. We have Bluff Creek itself running along here, which we see on film, but the part of it that runs along there, when Roger's photographing, all of his ground is blocking that. We don't actually see it for most of what he's filming, but it is there, okay? Then we have the center point. We have up there where Patty's going to do her look back and all that stuff like that. But this is the start position. This is frame one. Now, the analysis work that I did, I took the approach of trying to analyze what if it's fake, what if it's real. I wanted to consider both options equally and try to look at what the evidence will tell us. I'm going to start with what if it's fake? What if Roger is staging this with some kind of a hoax, and that's a friend of his in an ape suit, such like that? What would Roger be doing before he actually turns the camera on here? Well, okay, he gets to Bluff Creek. His guy is here, his costume's there, the other accessories, all the junk he needs is here. But he wants his guy to start there. If it's a hoax, all of this is planned, so everything you see was deliberate. All right, so he wants the guy to start there when he turns on the camera. Well, he's not going to suit him up over here and say, walk over there, because he's got to cross the creek. You cross the creek in a costume, you will soak all of the leggings of the costume when he comes out and his legs are soaking wet. How's he going to explain that? Because we never see her cross the creek. If by chance his performer's walking across the creek in an ape suit and the water is getting around the fur on the legs, that might literally push and grab onto the legs a little harder, depending on the strength of the current. That could knock him over in the water. Then you're going to lose an hour, maybe two, just trying to dry him off. No good. Better idea, take your costume, take your person, take anybody else to help along. All of you walk across the creek and dress the guy right here. Put everything together, put a mask on, the headpiece, the whole thing, brush it all out, make it look good, and then leave him there and say, okay, stand there until we give you the signal, start doing your thing. Tell him where he's going to go, and you figure where you're going to run. Then Roger gathers up any of his clothes, any accessories, brushes, brush out the costume, everything, go back here, cross the creek again, back over to here, put all the stuff behind there. Okay, he's got to do that first. Now, when he's done that, this performer's all ready to go. Then he's going to go get his camera, okay? Got his camera. First thing he's going to do, if this is a nice, calm, planned filming, he's going to check the pressure of the spring to see if it's up to 40. That's full wind. If it's not, he'll wind it up a little more. And he's going to check his lens to make sure his f-stop is correct. Probably going to check his focus. He might, even if he's a good cameraman, he'll check the glass and see if there's any dust on the lens. Okay. So he's doing all this stuff, and now finally everything checks out. The guy's standing there, ready to go. Okay. So he's going to check on the site, see if, yeah, it all looks good to me. Now he's got to give the guy signal for action. Well, he's 100 feet away. You got a noisy creek in between you. And he's got a head mask on, which means he can't hear much of anything. So you can't just yell, okay, start. Doesn't work. Got to give him a big hand signal of some kind, like go, you know, get on on. Okay, so you give the guy the hand signal. You start it off, pull up the camera, start it up, turn it on, and you go run it after him. Okay? That's how a guy would do it if he's hoaxing. Problem is, that's not how it happened. Roger did not start the camera and then run after his subject. What he did was run after his subject and then start the camera. Subtle difference, but it's very, very important. See, the guy who's planning the hoax is standing around most of the time. Got everything done there, checking it out, checking the camera, standing here. Finally, when I get ready to start it up, I'm going to start it up and I'm going to move out. If I do it quick enough, you might figure nobody's going to notice. But somebody back then would never have anticipated that we would be looking at each frame from the very first one and seeing if there is any change in the physical position of the camera through the landscape. You'd figure, I don't know, just start it up and go. And if by chance they projected it and thought it would be noticeable, well, we'll just snip off a few frames of film where I'm moving forward. Who's going to notice that? The person doing that would also not realize that a camera like this produces an overexposure of the very first frame because the shutter has not fully gotten up to speed. That's what's called a frame one or a first frame camera start overexposure. If you snip a little off the film, throw off a few things thinking nobody's going to notice, you lose the camera start. You lose the camera start, we have evidence the film's tampered with. We've got to wonder why. The camera start is intact on that first segment of the Patterson-Gimlin film. We know for a certainty that is the first frame, and by frame 3, which is relatively clear, compared to frame 6, which is very, very sharp, Roger is moving substantially forward from frame 3 to 6, which is a fraction of a second. So by the time he started that camera, he was already in forward motion. That does not make sense for somebody hoaxing. They just wouldn't do it that way. They wouldn't bother, they wouldn't think anybody would know. But now let's look at it from a reality standpoint. If this is a real spontaneous, unrehearsed, unexpected encounter, okay? Roger and Bob come around here. There's this big log jam. Patty's somewhere here. In scale, she was probably actually somewhere over here on the river. Anyways, they come around, they see her, the horses get spooked. Roger's got to get off the horse. He's got to get this out of the saddlebag. And Patty's already walking away, and he's got to chase after her, and he's got to start up his camera to take the shots. He would not have started it standing still because he was probably never standing still. He was running every single second, which is why the camera started while he was moving forward. So someone who's faking it, someone